Have you ever thought about what your spider Sona would look like? I kind of have every once in a while. I think like my character would be something like a kind of a luchador Spider-Man. I think that would just be really cool. But anyways, hello everybody. Welcome to another FVI, and that is known as the first volume impressions, where I talk to you about one shots or a first volume of a series, and I tell you how I feel about it. Yeah, we've been doing this show for quite a bit now, honestly. I feel like I started sometime in last June or sometime in July. I remember the first one was the Lupin the Third re-release, like the hardcover that I think Seven Seas released. So weird to hear that, say it out loud, crazy stuff. Anyways, it's really exciting for this one. I got 3 really good volumes I'm going to be talking about. It's going to be really hard to rate them. I still haven't really thought about it. But yeah, let's get right into it. Let's go. Okay, let's get right into it. Our first manga comes from us from Magazine Pocket of July 2019. I believe it had a 1-year full release, and we have finally have it here in English, coming in from Viz Media and Yusuke Ogawa. With the story and the art, we have Spider-Man Fake Red. So, totally random story about this. I didn't even know, I like completely forgot that this was releasing in the first place, and I saw it and I was like, oh, cool. I had just watched Across the Spider-Verse, so I was like really Spider-Man-y, feeling very Spider-Man-y. Anyways, I have this here and I'm going to be talking about it. So let's get ready with the cover and the spine, and wow, this is a remarkable cover and spine. It's kind of hard to see without me there we go. You get to see like that really nice like spider web seeing on the front and the back, so just super neat, obviously, and the beautiful illustrations, a really cool spine. Honestly, this is a super neat, just across the board, really gorgeous. I really am happy with how this looks. It's fantastic. But let's get into our characters. So I'm going to be talking about 2 characters here, but right before that, forgot, I gotta talk about all the people who worked on this, at least that we have information on. Original cover design by Tadashi Hisamachi, translation by Caleb Cook, English adaptation by Molly Tanzer, touch-up art and editing by Evan Waldinger, design by Francesca Truman, and editor is Joel Enos? I don't know how to pronounce your name, I apologize. But, alright, 2 characters. I'm only going to talk about 2 characters because there's a lot of them, and really only 2 of them are, like, I would say, like, the main cast. So we have Yu. So Yu is our main lead. He is a really shy guy, really, just loves climbing, kind of like a delinquent in a way, where he kind of skips school, doesn't really, like, try that hard at school at all. A lot of people are like, oh, look, he finally came to class for once. But, yeah, overall, he just really adores Spider-Man. He really wishes he could be like him. And to be like a hero, and yeah, overall I think he's like a pretty fine, like pretty good character for the most part. Like he gets a nice character arc and character growth towards the end, but overall, yeah, I mean, like, it's a one-shot character, so he's not like, I don't know, he's not super well written, but I do actually appreciate how he reacts to a lot of the things that he has to deal with, especially later in the series, which I'll talk about with the story. But overall, yeah, he's a pretty good character. And coming in, we have our female lead, Emma. So she's a girl who attends the exact same high school as you. Yeah, she's pretty cool too. I thought she was Gwen Stacy at first, and I guess not. But she's really cool. She's kind of like the polar opposite of you, where she's very popular, she's very like athletic, or not athletic, but they're both athletic, but they're she's like way more known across the school for being like really good at sports and stuff like that. So yeah, she's got a really interesting character arc as well, and a nice reveal as well towards the end, showing that everyone kind of has something that like they don't want to necessarily share or say because they're worried about how people would judge them. So I really like her arc as well. So yeah, both characters are pretty good across the board. Peter Parker's in it too, but you'll just have to read it to check out what Peter Parker's like, and all of like the typical Spider-Man staples are kind of in it. So yeah, overall characters are pretty decent. Now let's get into the story. So the reason why it's called Fake Red is so Yu, like I said, is the main character, not Peter Parker, but Peter Parker is the Spider-Man in this specific series. But he disappears for a bit, and Yu like basically finds his outfit in an alleyway, and he tries it on, like just being like, oh, look at me, I'm so cool, I'm Spider-Man. But kind of gets roped into typical Spider-Man antics, where it's like, oh, you have to go do your hero duty. So yeah, he proceeds to stumble his way through being a hero, being the Fake Red, as the name suggests. So overall, the story I think is pretty decent. Like I mentioned previously with the characters, a lot of the reveals are pretty interesting. I like a lot of how Yu deals with being a hero or attempting to be a hero. He kind of feels like, fake Spider-Man. But overall, I think it's very realistic in terms of his superhero origin story. I don't know what you want to call it, but overall, he definitely feels like a person who has literally just put on the outfit and doesn't really know what he's doing. It's actually kind of interesting to see across the board, especially throughout this entire volume. I just really like it. I think the story's pretty good, and it's definitely very Spider-Man-y. So if you like Spider-Man stuff, I would say give it a shot. Now, the art is gorgeous. Before I even get started, I could just show you that they added very, very, absolutely gorgeous color art throughout this. There's some really pretty covers in the back too. Just absolutely gorgeous print. I'm very surprised that Viz actually decided to do this. Hopefully it is a sign for things to come. I am not going to get my hopes up, but it is really neat to see color pages within a fairly normal sized Viz Media volume. But other than the color pages that are absolutely gorgeous, yeah, the art across the board is fantastic. There's a lot of really, really good poses and just overall fantastic designs and really smart composition choices. I really like this shot a lot. This is towards the beginning, so there's no spoilers for the most part. But yeah, this manga is chock full of that. Really great posing and really great character designs across the board. I actually really like a lot of the redesigns, especially with the main villain. I'm not going to mention who it is because I want to give some surprise about when you're reading it. But overall, yeah, a lot of really great designs across the board, and it was just a very enjoyable read. I don't know, I had a great time. It's a kind of a chunky one, it's pretty big, but considering for how big it is, I actually read it pretty fast. So yeah, overall, if you like Spider-Man, I'd give it a shot. If you like superhero comics, I'd also give it a shot. So yeah, overall, pretty good. Really enjoyed it. What I suggest for everyone, not necessarily, you kind of really... this would definitely be up someone's alley if you're really into superhero stuff or just action stuff in general. But if you're looking for a really good romance or something, then yeah, you're not gonna get it here. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Alright, going into our next volume. So this is an autobiographical series that just recently released, of course. Originally released in August of 2020 in a magazine slash thing called Yawaraka Spirits. Wow, what a mouthful. So this series is written and illustrated by Poppy Pesuyama, and that is going to be Until I Love Myself, the journey of a non-binary manga artist. So let's get started. Let's talk about this beautiful cover here. I love this cover. It's got another one of those really nice metallic across the board. Metallic for the body parts and also metallic for the title. I really like the font as well. I don't know if it's handwritten or if it's an actual font, but it's still really nice and really good. I'm really enjoying this one. But let's go into some of the people who worked on it. So we have English translation and adaptation. I didn't write it down. Oops. Usually I have this written down already, but is by Emily Balistrieri. Excuse me. Touch-up art and lettering by Jeannie Lee. Designed by Alice Lewis, and editor is Pancha Diaz. I really apologize for not really having that written down. I usually do, but totally missed it on this one. So oops. Not much to say on that, but I'm not going to talk about any characters in this. It's an autobiographical series, so I don't really need to talk about the characters because it's just the creator themselves, Poppy Pesuyama, talking about their overall experience in life. So let's get into the story. So really quick, a lot of trigger warnings here. If you're affected by any of these things, I would say don't read this or just be prepared for it because it's going to have a lot of things just going on across the board. So I have them listed already. And now let's get into it. So, basically follow the story of this manga artist, Poppy Pesuyama, talking about various experiences in their life where they have been misgendered or have been basically sexually harassed in many ways across the board, whether it's by adults or by friends from back when they were children and stuff like that, and yeah, and how all of these experiences have formed their opinion on life and their gender and all these other things. So overall, the story is written extremely well. I've been really enjoyed it as I was reading through it. Like I mentioned, it's a mix of weird and terrible circumstances. I say weird because there are some times where they talk about back when they were kids, and it's hard with children to say that like there was any malintent, if that makes sense. But of course, much later down the line, and even assuming, judging by how Poppy has been talking about it, there are some certain experiences and circumstances they haven't discussed yet. I believe that's going to be in the second volume, and if I'm wrong, oops. But yeah, there's some pretty awful circumstances and just situations that Poppy is put into by a mangaka that they discuss throughout the beginning and also the end of this volume. It's a lot. It's really hard to read, but I think it's important that we have these kinds of series so that we can have this pointed out. I know a lot of people will say, well, yeah, it's pretty obvious that people are like this. And it's like, yes, but in terms of media for that, like a lot of people don't necessarily take it seriously or tend to kind of just like brush it under the rug, which is a real shame because like I feel like a lot of this stuff is really important, especially for Poppy Pesayama. I believe like having this stuff in front of us, being able to read it, and just understanding how horrifying it is for them as an artist, having to deal with like just the absolutely terrible people that have been around them. Yeah, it's a lot. But I really like how it's presented. It's done really well, and it's done in a way that like it's not like glorifying anything wrong. It's like definitely pointing it out, showing how bad it is. And how they have been able to cope with it, and how they've been able to think about it as they've grown older and had time to process all this information and trauma. So, yeah, story, or whatever you want to call it, their story, fantastic, lovely, and just, yeah, this is a lot. But art, the art is really, really good, actually. I like it a lot. It's kind of like this interesting juxtaposition in a way where, like, it has this kind of comedy look to it, throughout most of the volume. There are definitely some parts that, yeah, just have some really, 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 like, just intense moments. I think the art, when it gets really intense like that, really helps to build up, like, how Poppy Pesayama was feeling throughout these, like, situations, and it really helps to, like, it really helps you to empathize and sympathize with them, and truly understand just how horrible these things were. Like I said, the story and the art kind of go hand in hand, very cohesive too, like, I don't know, just across the board, the art is very, very good. I really enjoyed it, and I really like it when, like, an artist goes out of, like, the typical, like, anime/manga art style. So yeah, really enjoyed this. I thought this was a fantastic autobiographical series. I'm really excited to see what Volume 2 is all about. I don't really know what's going to happen, but I am definitely interested. Very, very interested. But yeah, fantastic first volume. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I would highly suggest this if you are at all interested in autobiographical work, or you just need to read something that will make you think a lot, especially think a lot about how your actions can have consequences for others. And yeah, I think it's really good. But like I mentioned, and if you looked at those trigger warnings, if you're easily triggered by any of those things, definitely, stray away from this. Alright, and now it's time for the series that everybody has been claiming for, or at least everybody in the shoujo community, and occasionally some other people who are definitely much smarter than than most shonen boys are. So anybody who has any kind of brain has been talking about this. It is a very, very popular series by a very famous mangaka that we haven't had a series from in a long time in English, but originally published in Shogakukan in 2018. This is Yumi Tamura's Don't Call It Mystery, volumes 1 and 2. So this is an omnibus. Yeah, let's talk about it. So, cover. I'm not gonna lie. Please don't shoot me. Please don't put me at the stake. I don't like Yumi Tamura's this style that they do for covers. I don't know what it is about it. It's a little too smooth for me. I don't know how to explain it. But something about smooth paint like this, especially like soft paint like this, really weirds me out, and I've never really been a big fan of it. So I'm not gonna lie, I don't really like this specific art, but I actually do like the cover. I think the cover is well designed. I think it's interesting to see these two, like, or these kanji, or katakana, hiragana, I don't know, the Japanese writing, and then also the English, and then all that through the back. It really helps you kind of gauge what the series is going to be about. I think it's, yeah, it's a good representation of what you're going to be checking out. So, Let's talk about who worked on this. We have translation by Caroline Wisenride. We have lettering by Ayla Nagamine. We have original cover design by Chie Kato plus Baybridge Studio. Cover design by H. Chi. Proofreader is Leanna DeRowan, and copy editor is B. Lillian Martin. Woo! Alright, getting into the characters. So we have one character I'm going to talk about because he is the main character, and that is, okay, I don't know. I have a hard time pronouncing it. I believe it is Totono. I think that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, he's a really weird kid. Like, absolutely just out there. Very bizarre. He really loves curry. And he likes talking, but also not at the same time. He mentions that sometimes where, like, he'll be like, oh, yeah, like, I don't really like talking about people's backstories or whatever. But then he just talks like an earful with, like, a ton of people. It's just a very, very complex character already, even though we really don't know that much about him, but he's very likable. I really enjoy him. Just an overall, just a weird, funny guy. But yeah, he's cool. Just totally out there, very weird. It'll make more sense when I talk about the story. But yeah, let's get into the story then. So, story follows our main character, Totono, who is a college student who has just gotten back, like, to his apartment, is making curry, and is approached by the police. And the police say, oh, we're bringing you in because we suspect you of murder. So yeah, it's about him trying to explain his way out of it, because clearly he's not the murderer, or at least, you know, we are assumed that he's not the murderer, and he kind of just opens up like this Pandora's box of just everybody's background, and you just learn a lot about his character specifically, and a lot of the characters around him, especially the police force. He's very observant, so he, like, pays attention to literally everything and can kind of deduce what's going on with a lot of characters' habits and backstories and families and all these other things. So yeah, he's a really interesting character, and I think the story definitely utilizes his weirdness. It's a lot of reading. Just keep that in mind. It is a ton of reading, and it's going to pose a lot of questions to you that you don't necessarily have to answer, but they are very thought-provoking, and I just find them very fascinating to see what everybody's answers are to these, like, certain questions. It's really great. Really gets your brain thinking, and I really enjoy it. It's a very, very dense volume. It will take you a long time to read it. There is a lot to read. But overall, story is very good. I am hooked, to say the least, and I'm really excited for the next release. Going into the art. So, in contrast to how much I dislike the cover, I actually really like Yumi Tamura's art. The art is actually really nice. Because the design and the art style that they go with, they have a very sketchy line art style, which is really nice. Overall, we get a lot of just really funny facial expressions and character designs. We don't get a lot of, like, super intense or crazy, like, action poses or anything, because it's mostly a dialogue-heavy series. But when we do get, like, the facial expressions, they're all really, like, they're either really serious or really are explaining how the characters are feeling in the situations that they're in. Yeah, overall, this is a fantastic manga. Oh my goodness. I could see why everybody was super hyped up about it, and why everybody kind of loves Yumi Tamura, because yeah, this was fantastic. It's really, really, really flipping good, and I'd highly suggest to anybody, really. Just note, it's gonna be a lot of reading, but it's totally worth it. It's so much fun, and it's a lot to think about. So yeah, I'm enjoying it a whole lot. Alrighty, let's rate these manga. So, there's only 3 of them, so this will be a lot easier than Maze, where I had 5 of them. But honestly, I'm pretty set on how I'm going to order these, but my least favorite is going to be Spiderman Fake Red. I did really enjoy it, but like I mentioned in a lot of my FBIs, I just like the other ones a lot more. It is very fun, it's very enjoyable, I really enjoy the color pages. It's definitely a really good read. But coming into that, I think I'm going to put Until I Love Myself as number 2, and Don't Call It Mystery as number 1. Don't Call It Mystery is just, like, so up my alley, it is not even funny. It is fantastic, it's so lovely, the writing is fantastic, everything is fantastic. I just really want to use that word a lot. Fantastic. But definitely worth the price you pay. It is a little bit more expensive because it's an omnibus, but honestly, it's so worth it. It's so good. And definitely worth all your pennies. Go check it out. And like I said, Until I Love Myself as well, also very, very good, very poignant. Will have you thinking a lot about, like I said, a lot about your experiences and how you feel about yourself. And yeah, overall, these were all very good manga. I actually really enjoyed June's reads. I actually was expecting to have a couple more in this one, or to not have certain ones in here. I actually wasn't thinking about putting Don't Call It Mystery because technically it came out in May. But I was paying attention to my reading log, like, because I keep track of all the manga I read throughout the month. And I actually haven't read a lot of new volume ones. These are like the only 3 that I have read. So I kind of had to choose these 3. But honestly, it was totally worth it. These were super good, and it was really fun to talk about them. So yeah, let me know what you think about these manga down below in the comments. I'd really like to know if you've read any of these, because yeah, I think these are all really good and you should definitely pick them up. And you know what to do. You can like, you can comment, you can favorite, or no, you can't favorite anymore. You can like, you can comment, you can subscribe. Those are all super fantastic things. It's all amazing when you do that. And yeah, your support continues to be amazing and wonderful. You guys are so awesome. I hope you joined and or are going to join the giveaway that I'm currently doing. Note that this is going to totally date this video, so if you watch this after the middle of July, I am so sorry, but I am no longer doing that giveaway. But if you are watching beforehand, like you're watching the day of or a couple days after, definitely get into that giveaway, especially if you live in the US. It's free manga. All you have to do is comment and have a Twitter account. It is not a lot. I don't even need you to subscribe. You don't even need to subscribe. Like, that's a big win for you. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, that's going to be it for this FVI. I am done with this video, so I will see you in probably the manga pickups for June. Bye-bye.